and with ropes and tackle and so forth between the different ones, we lined them up and we heaved and we pulled and straightened things up to make a huge wall to this harbour. And all the sluices were opened, all the sea valves, and she gradually settled down onto the sandy floor. And that was that. And then we'd fetch another one. And so it went on. I don't think it really sank in until we saw things unfolding in their proper order that we realised that this was a harbour we were building.
Never was any military project more thoroughly prepared than the invasion of Europe. Great storehouses are packed to capacity with engines of war and food for the enormous army now assembled in Britain. The well-nigh illimitable productive resources of the United States and Britain are behind the invasion. When the armies land in Europe, they'll lack nothing that it's in the power of Britain and America to provide.
The first thing I saw was a huge office block with no windows, no doors. It was just a great big concrete box. But quite honestly, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I had no instructions. It did not occur to us at that time that this thing floated. And we were amazed that the tug that was tied up to us suddenly started pulling, and we moved.
Incredible? Yes. Even to Americans steeped in traditions of pioneer courage and mechanical genius. Almost unreal. But real enough to the trucks that roll down the sturdy ramps with their rations, and big guns and shells made in America, on tires made in America. Real enough to the men who are America, and to the 90,000 troops on shore who waited for all these.
And the idea behind the whole of Mulberry Harbour was to get armour ashore quickly for the counterattack, and they did that.
Unloading from the main pier was just beginning. Then the wind began to blow. And on the 13th day of the invasion,
the treacherous sea became Hitler's ally. Unloading on the open beaches ceased, yet somehow or other the work of unloading in the port went on.
Over to Omaha on the 23rd of June to see how they got on, and it was just a tangle of steel, completely wiped out.
The lads who were on Mulberry, as far as it had been built then, just worked their guts out to save it.
Pure purgatory during that time. I lost about 8 sappers drowned, washed overboard, but
But it was a very, very testing time.
They were still able to get things ashore in that storm because the harbour wall held on Mulberry Bay.
$2.5 million personnel passed through the harbour both ways. 500,000 tanks, guns and vehicles came down Allen's floating roadways, and over 4 million tons of supplies came through the harbour. He came to inspect the Mulberry Harbour, and of course I gave him a cracking salute, and he said, "Well done, my boy." That moment I was up in the clouds.
For the first time in history, a harbour had been built in sections, towed across the sea, and set down during a battle on the enemy's shore.
One was so tired. It was every man jack of that port construction force threw his heart and soul into saving the harbour. And in spite of storms far greater than those for which it was designed, it is the success story of a military and naval operation unsurpassed in the history of warfare.
Afterwards, we began to feel very proud of what we'd done, however small our part was. A very small cog in a very large machine, but nevertheless it was necessary, down to the man who mixed the cement and built the damn thing. It was an amazing feat, an absolute amazing feat.